Today I want to present to you a formula, a thought pattern that you will always magnify the possibility above the problem. So you need to say with me, I am going to magnify the possibility above the problem. I am going to speak the solution rather than the difficulty. And I will remember the benefits more than the misfits that have been going on in my life. And my reminiscences are going to change, not to regurgitate the old stuff that my amygdala, hippocampus and hypothalamus throws out. That's where the bitter memories are stored. Bitter memories are stored for a good reason, that we may not repeat the same thing. But we are not to suck the old bad memories as if they are current today. This is the reason for the post-traumatic stress disorder. After some bad thing happens, a loved one passes away or some bad experience, we keep regurgitating the memory as if that happened yesterday. So what has happened is, from our executive, empathic, creative, initiation, navigation, good conclusion, good success, good reward, satiety, I am happy, I am content tracks. That's how we are supposed to live. We revert to our survival tracks, which say thrill, peril, fright, flight, fright. We have shifted our daily exercise track to this bottom-up regulation. How must we live? Top-down, think through, plan, navigate for success. Where the whole human psyche, soul, calls for success. Not for kalagarima, frustration, disappointment. That's not the way we are designed to live by our Good Shepherd. Our Good Shepherd has put a God scope, an inside map into us for us to say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures and not dreary, dry desert places. He leads me by still waters. So we are to lead a life of being led into our best prospects, even if we are 20, 40, 60 or 80, daily waking up that there is a good prospect waiting to happen for me. A good expectation. Better than yesterday. Adata vadiya heta hondaya kiya, avara giren hiru nopeni gaya is an old Sinhala song. And that's how we should do life. If we don't live the top-down regulation for initiation, that is for salience and satiety, those are the technical words, dopamine doing salience and serotonin doing satiety, we revert to survival mode of our bottom-up regulation. Every bad thing that comes around us begins to feed our bad memories. So we have this helpful suggestion, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, praise His holy name. Soul is the entity created with our father and mother's psyche and God's deposit. And spirit is the entity that gives us the God's scope and the track of heaven from where we came. And then body is, of course, the body. So this argalaya in our pranaya begins to overtake any child by the age of 12. And there is the prarthanava, or the best hope, apekshava, in the spirit given by God. And two go loggerheads like this. And unfortunately, if parents are not sensitive, if they don't bond with their children, the argalaya in their soul, the struggle and the fires and the blemishes and the blotches and the bad things that happen to them begin to speak more than the good expectation that is written into their God scope. This often is reinforced by parents who keep harping on the bad things that happen to them. So how do we live then? My soul magnifies the Lord. So when a bad thing happens, you have a source with which you are connected to, and experiences of the past, which is called a blessing and a favor, that overtakes the curse and the diminution. In Sinhala language, in Sinhala culture, in Asian cultures, this curse is a very powerful concept. What is it? What is a curse? In Sinhala it's called Shapaya. That is, bad things happen unexpectedly, repeatedly, bringing down your prospects you once had because of inheritance. For instance, Sri Lanka in 1950 was the most prosperous nation of all of Asia, more prosperous than any nation in Africa, more prosperous than any nation in South America. In fact, we were able to give a loan in British pounds to Britain. That's how well placed we were. Our rupee was equivalent to the US dollar. And now we know what has happened to us. With every prospect for development and to be a rich nation, we are still going down. So that is an inexplicable sociological phenomenon. I'm not going to try to trace the spiritual reasons for this sociological phenomenon, but I want to say behind every sociological phenomenon, a person suffers, family suffers, or a nation suffers, there are spiritual reasons. Today I want to quickly get you to focus on the step-up process rather and come out of this step-down diminution you have gone through. So here is it. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the ungodly counsel. All over the world, in every field, there's counsel, wisdom, fake science, human dominion and philosophies that go against the designed wise counsel of a benevolent God. And having messed up the design, people is asking, where is God? Having messed up the design, distorted it. For instance, for example, marriage is designed only between man and woman, and that's marriage. There's no marriage between man and woman. And then marriage is for life. Then people violate this and wonder why children go berserk. At present in Sri Lanka, it is reported that 39% of psychiatric consultations come from kids under the age of 19. And crystal meth has become such a serious problem in many so-called good schools in Colombo and in our stations. The social upheaval. So there's a lot of ungodly counsel, which means counsel that defied God design in family, God design in raising up children, abortion legitimized, and the fake science that was designed during this last pandemic to destroy the immunity of people, and it is still going on, so that every trigger of a protein that looks like that spike protein triggers the immunological downslide in the immune inflammatory system. Man's immune inflammatory system has molecules that attack and counterbalancing molecules that resolve the inflammation. The two must be balanced. These are called interleukins. What the spike protein did is begin a continuous immune inflammatory process that keeps depleting specific pro-resolver molecules, the SPMs, that douse the inflammatory fire. And the spike protein process, mediated through angiotensin local cycles, keep inflammation all the time. With any other viral infection, viral protein that comes up, the former process is activated. People feel terribly tired. I have written on this. I'm Dr. Lalith Mendis. If you want any more clips on that subject, please send me a WhatsApp to 0742 11 5011. If you are abroad, please send it to +94 742 11 5011. But today is not a medical talk. Today is a talk to your heart and to your brain to keep the two ticking. So this is about the things that derail people, human society, family life. Today I just wrote about father, that fathers are created in a good marriage, because marriage is God's design for life to produce citizens for a benevolent society where they take up their skill as benefactor, and who benefit from your skill becomes beneficiaries. This is the world God designed. Of course you will earn a living, but you will not make a killing. That's right. You are a benefactor as a doctor, as a lawyer, as any professional, and even political leaders are meant to be benefactors, shepherds who lead sheep. Excuse me. So the ungodly counsel, then there are ways of sin that have got enmeshed in nations. What does sin do? It leads you astray. You fall short of a standard as dad or husband or whatever it is, and then you miss the mark. Then comes iniquity and fault lines. Repetitively the wrong things get ingrained into you, either regarding finances, sex or whatever it is. Ingrained default lines. You fall into a groove and keep repeating it in spite of great education. Education did not change the heart, because heart is not the arena of education. Brain is the arena of education, which is very valuable. But heart has a different set of learning and wisdom. This I discovered this in 1971, after I finished my advanced level examination in chemistry, physics, zoology and botany, and I came first in the island. So my head became very big commensurately, but soon after I found out that a big head does not compensate for an empty heart. And through a process of interaction, questioning, arguing, which was my nature, I came to the knowledge of understanding my big brain is actually working against shrinking of my heart. In this crisis, I discovered a good shepherd who could speak to me, diagnose my nature, and get me on the right track, and I continued to do very well at the Colombo Medical Faculty. However, I had a balance between my big brain and a heart that began to relate to people humanly. I'm very grateful for this change. So this is the way of sinners that get into human life. And then the seat of the scornful. Scorn is, there's a generation that has risen up. Now I'm reading from God's word, but I'll tell you why I started to trust God's word as a good sociological tool. I began to believe in God also, but I am recommending the wisdom of scriptures as a sociological tool to analyze, understand and apply. So here it is, Proverbs chapter 30. Most of you have heard of King Solomon. We, Sri Lanka, Ceylon then, Serendip then, exported cinnamon, peacocks, ivory and other spices to Solomon in Israel. In 930 BC. We were a functioning rich country at that time. And the ships of Solomon came to Mantotam, that is Manna, and to Gaul. The Colombo port was not developed then. So that's just by the way. Proverbs 30 verse 11 says, there's a generation that curses its father and does not bless his mother. Now we want to turn this around. So it's a generational change, not one or two, but a societal change where the father is diminished and the mother is not blessed. Of course, the problem started with fathers and mothers who thought children are a problem, so they aborted them, and other children were relegated to school or tutors for tutelage, whereas children need bonding time with parents. It's scientific fact that IQ is related to the bonding time child had in the mother's womb and soon after birth. IQ is related to, repeat it, bonding time a child has with mother while the child is in the womb and soon after birth. IQ is directly related to that. And the confidence level to step up and conquer the boundaries, that confidence and certainty, that is related to how much time the kid has with the father. So conquering the inside terrain and being brilliant inside is mother's domain, and stepping out into boundaries and borders across is father's terrain. That's why both need to bond. So there's a generation who lost it, and that curses the father and does not bless the mother. Very strong words. The curse, the Hebrew word used for curse is diminishes. So father has got diminished in a child's life. World needs father leaders. I did a little post this morning. If you want it, you can. All these posts are available on my WhatsApp number 0742115011 or on my app, Golden Nuggets. You can download it, Dr. Lalith Mendis, Golden Nuggets from App Store or from Google, free of charge. I have done 492 clips on science and reason and matters of the heart. 12th, there's a generation that is pure in his own eyes, yet is not washed from its filthiness. That is, increasingly, young people will begin to consume things that are morally hurtful, sexual and otherwise, and think nothing about it. They think it leaves no scar. But sexually damaged people are scarred for life. It needs divine intervention. You can heal some lung problem maybe with a good antibiotic or combination of antibiotics. But when people are sexually damaged, it needs divine redemption, intervention by a loving Heavenly Father. 13, there is a generation how lofty and their eyelids are lifted up. So they are always wanting the next thing. This is only a diagnosis of the problem. The solution is what father, mother supplies at home, a good promise that the kids can live for. So this is how the promise comes, that delighting in the law of the Lord, in His law meditating day and night. So there's a map of God in every human heart, which gets blurred with dust, thorns, arrogance, conceit, fisticuffs, bloodletting. In Sinhala there's a saying, "Diyared dem bella kapanawa." Very, very explicit proverbs that describe human nature of undercutting. That's what it means. So all those things are overcome if we renew the map, the compass, the tracks God already laid in our hearts for our greatness. Our heart is crying out for this. And this is what human greatness lies, in the God scope written there, not in the planets. In the God scope written there, and we discovering it, and then we living the God track at whatever age, be it, as I said at the beginning, 20, 30, 20, 40, 60, 80, God still has a track for you. So he shall be, this is the life he envisaged for us, he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. So you have a constant source of infilling of your spirit from God your Father in heaven, that gives you a surplus, a generosity, a thankful spirit, that you don't have to be mean. You work with a God scope that is enough for all. So this is not survival of the fittest, this is thriving for all. If you agree for survival of the fittest, struggle for existence, then you live like that. That's what Darwin's philosophy got into man. But if you agree for thriving for all, under the hand of a benevolent, generous Father in heaven, and He taught us to pray, "Our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be thy name." That means all I own, may it come under your character of holiness. Give us this day our daily bread. So it's enough for all. And then, may your kingdom come into my plot of earth. So may your government rest on my plot of earth, the way I do things. So there's a conscious choice. I'll listen to God and do it His way. Can man listen to God? Of course, man is a spiritual creature. You will either listen to God or to the devil. That's how it goes. Someone superior in his intelligence and dominion will take over your thinking. That may be Karl Marx, that may be Charles Darwin, that may be Sigmund Freud, that may be Karl Popper, whoever. Human beings are anyway worshipping some philosophy. My suggestion is, get back to the original philosophy and don't get sidetracked by the deviations. I have written a book called Reasons. There are a few copies. Maybe I can, if you send me your email number or WhatsApp, I can send you parts of it that are relevant for this conversation that we are having online. So here is the promise. We will be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. That means in our own life there will be branches coming out in every season. Your leaf will not go dry, and every season you will produce fruit. Whatever you do will prosper. That is because you are working with the good purpose of God. That gives you the best results in your life. So if you feel the best results you did not get in your life, that is because you didn't follow the book, the original handbook God put into your heart, and God wrote it in His Word, so that we have a work manual for life decisions. and life pathways. This I'll repeat it, you will be like a tree planted by rivers of water. So no dry season. Though the world may go through famine, global recession, God has kept a fountain in your life that He can fill for economic prosperity, intellectual brilliance, your next generation's welfare. Whatever the world goes through, God has a way of managing those people who say, please keep us secure in your green pasture. So you can see economies are tumbling. The shutdowns, economic shutdowns that were entailed by the planned pandemic has resulted in a real economic meltdown. And in Sri Lanka we had our own foolish decisions that why our economy sank so low. But good news is, there is a river or a fountain by which you can be planted by choice, and you will bring forth fruit in old age and in every season. Adequate fruit to match your success. So today I just did a post, 24 to 33, you lay your foundation of identity, marriage, family. 33 to 43, you do life for your success, building your edifice. Then 44 onwards, you have the opportunity to allow others to build on your foundation, and they get their success and reward while you get your significance and influence. That's right. So 24 to 33, identity, and you lay your foundation. 33 to 43, you do your success, reward, good work, get your name, build your edifice. 43 onwards, you help others to get God's best. In all this, God working through 3 generations, no disconnection. That's how the Father of all nations, Father of all generations does things. When we don't have Him, this is how it goes. There is a generation whose eyes are lofty, their eyelids are lifted up. There is a generation whose teeth are like swords, so sharp in their words and arguments and speculations, whose fangs are like knives, they bite each other to devour the poor from off the earth. So already plans are afoot why the population must be modulated, manipulated, so that the fit and the global elite may make every nation an economic center to feed the rich. This is where the world is going, if God will not intervene, but God will. But He intervenes through those who know Him. That's His strategy, to devour the poor from off the earth and the needy from among men. If you send me a WhatsApp to 0742115011, I will send you this passage. I'm challenging you. This single passage about these times, this forecast, had to have divine omniscience. If you never believed in God, read through this passage and know that someone who was supremely wise and can be greatly of help told us the story how human society is doing the wind down. The leech has 2 daughters. The 3 things that are never satisfied, they always say, not enough, not enough. So this is where it is going. Eye that mocks the father scorns obedience to his mother. It's a sad commentary in parable language, but it is easy enough to understand. But we will defeat this because we have a promise that the Good Shepherd leads us in His paths of righteousness with His rod and His staff, and He anoints our head with oil, and He has a cup full for our entire life journey. He appoints and assigns our table whom we do life with, and our place in that table, senior, junior, middle level, and sufficiency for all. Because God does not work with survival of the fittest. God works with thriving of all. Please write it down. God does not work with survival of the fittest. God works with thriving of all, because He is our Father in heaven. Thank you for listening. Hope we will be in touch again.